Hey guys, this is Sergeant Phoenix back in the action, and as you can see, we are now doing the Meklord Emperor deck profile, used by no other than my favourite character from the 5Ds, and perhaps my favourite villain, mainly because of story and everything, Aporia. Now, for those who don't know, Aporia was the Seasons 2 main antagonist in the final duel, and that was of Season 2 Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Now, I can explain the backstory and everything, but I'll wait. But, you know, there's people who'll do that for me on the YouTube channels and everything, which I've watched and everything, explaining the names even. Now, first as usual, we start with monsters, spells, and traps. There's no extra deck on this deck, so, you know, so if it's a quick video, I'll do my opinions and options of what to do on this deck. First we have Meklord Army of Yugioh. This card gains 100 attack for each face-up Meklord monster on the field, except this card. So once per turn, when another Meklord monster you control declares an attack on a defense position monster your opponent controls, you can activate this effect. During that battle, if the defense of the attack target is lower than the attack of the attacking monster, inflict the difference as battle damage to your opponent. Meaning, it inflicts piercing, the monster can inflict piercing battle damage now. Next we have Meklord Army of Skill. If this card gains 200 attack for each face-up Meklord monster on the field, except this card. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Meklord Army monster from your deck. And I like this card already. Now, for those who won't wonder straight away, I'm actually putting these in order based on the Meklord monsters that were Meklords that were summoned. Meklord Yugioh was the first one introduced, then Skill, and then Meklord Grinnell was the last one, because they were the mate. Because Yugioh, Skill, and Grinnell were the original Meklords until the only Meklord Emperors actually. Now next is Meklord Army of Grinnell. This card gains 100 attack for each Meklord monster on the field except this card. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, half the target's attack until the end of this turn. And this is like one of those cards that everyone will be using. Like Meklord Armies, like obviously you need these. Now, these are the introductions to the newest ones, because for those who don't know, and I would imagine you would need to know this, obviously, that Meklord's got some new cards released. Another army, a new Affinity Core, and an Astro Monster, and some new spell cards. So first we have Meklord Army Deployer Obligator. Trying to show it, yeah. During your main phase, you can activate this effect. Destroy this card, and if you do, special summon 2 Meklord Army monsters from your deck in defense position, except Meklord Army Deployer Obligator. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except machine monsters. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can activate this effect. During the end phase of this turn, you can inflict 100 damage to your opponent for each Meklord monster you control. You can only use each effect of Meklord Army Deployer Obligator once per turn. And it's got a good defense straight there, if you can see. 1800 defense and 1200 attack. So it's mainly a defense monster. But straight away, it lets you summon out 2. It lets you deal damage per monster you have. It's not a lot. If you have 5, it could just be 500. That's not a lot. But still something, which is okay. Now, next we have... I'm trying to just get out. The next latest, Meklord Nucleus Infinity Core. And I love the design of this, I can't deny that. The design of this is just excellent. And you'll explain, and there is a card called Astro Mechanical, which obviously it shows similarity to this one completely. Now, its effects are: the first time this card would be destroyed by battle each turn, it is not destroyed. You can only use each of the following effects of Meklord, Nucleus, and Infinity Core once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Meklord spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. If this card is destroyed by a card effect, you can special summon one Meklord Emperor monster from your hand or deck with a different attribute from the monster you control. With a different attribute from the monsters you control, sorry. So it has to be from all the other ones you control, ignoring its summoning conditions. Also, for the rest of the turn, you can only declare an attack with one monster. So if you summoned a certain number of Meklords out, you can only use one of them to attack. Now, here they are. The three Meklord Emperors. Meklord Weisel, Meklord Grinnell, and Meklord Skeel. I'm going to put them in order, sorry, I thought I did. Now, you'll notice similarities. They're all level 1 monsters, and that obviously means they have a condition where they need to be summoned. And they all have the same condition. Now, the conditions are: cannot be normal summoned or set, it must be special summoned by its own effect, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. If a face-up monster you control is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. Other monsters you control cannot declare an attack, and once per turn you can target one synchro monster your opponent controls, equip that target to this card, and this card gains attack equal to the combined attack of the monsters equipped to it by this effect. And they all share this effect, Meklord. So basically, when a Meklord monster I have, or a monster I have, is destroyed by a card effect, I can special summon them from my hand, and synchros are useless against them because they can equip synchros your opponent controls onto them, and then take their attack points and add them onto their own. And also, like, these are if you control other monsters, and other monsters can attack with while these are on. Just making sure that's the case. Yeah, I was right. Other monsters can't declare an attack. Now, its other effect, its additional effect, is once per turn during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell card, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Now, it has 2500 attack and defense, which is good straight away. I'm going to explain something for those who don't know about Meklord Emperors. And like I said, I'll explain it in the end. And I'll show them on the scene here. On the mat. Now, next we have Meklord Emperor Skeel. Now, it's like Weisel, like I said, can't be normal summoned or set. It has to be summoned from your hand by a monster being destroyed by a card effect. Other monsters you control cannot attack, and you can target one synchro monster on your opponent controls, equipping onto this one, and it gains its attack. And this is it. I'm trying to find this. Here we go. Its additional effect is you can send one monster you control that is equipped to this card to the graveyard. This card can attack your opponent directly this turn. And straight away, that's a good effect. Like 2200, if your opponent doesn't have that many life points, that's a good effect. It's a good condition to have. And now we have, last but not least, Meklord Emperor Grinnell. Now you're wondering, why has this card got 0 attack and defense? Let me explain its additional effects. This card gains attack and defense equal to half your life points, and once per turn, and obviously it has the other effects on the field, and it has also another additional effect. You can target one of these equipped monsters, special summon that target to your side of the field in defense mode. So, like all the others, a monster has to be destroyed by a card to special summon it when it's summoned, and as long and it'll gain half your life points as attack points. So obviously if you have 8,000, this monster has 4,000 attack and defense. And if you found a way to double your life points to make them 16,000, that monster has 8,000 attack and defense points now. And another condition it has is, if a synchro is equipped to it, it can special summon that monster in defense position, which is straight away excellent. Just making sure I've not missed any. Yeah, I didn't miss anything. I was just making sure I didn't miss anything then. Now we're up to the bosses of the deck. Now this one was Aporia's card that he introduced after the Meklord Emperors were used in the final duel. Meklord Astro-Mechanical. It cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by sending 3 Meklord monsters from your hand to the graveyard, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. Once per turn, you can target 1 synchro monster your opponent controls, equip that target to this card. This card gains attack equal to the combined attack of the monster equipped to it by this effect. So it has the Meklord Emperor's effects, other than the summoning conditions. Once per turn, during your standby phase, you can send one of these equipped monsters you control to the graveyard and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the monster's original attack. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect. And it already has 4,000 attack and defense. So you could summon this in your first turn if your opponent has a Synchro 1. And let's say it's Stardust Dragon. It gains 2,500, giving it 6,500 attack. Which straight away is excellent. And then, obviously, during your next turn standby phase, you can send Stardust Dragon to the graveyard and deal its attack and use its attack points against your opponent's life points. And this is Aporia's next card, Meklord Astro Dragon Asterisk. And it cannot be normal summoned or set again. It must be special summoned from your hand by controlling 3 or more Meklord monsters. When this card is special summoned, you can target any number of Meklord monsters you control, except this card. Send those targets to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's attack becomes the combined original attack of all monsters sent to the graveyard by this effect. Each time a synchro monster or monster is special summoned, inflict 1,000 damage to the summoning player. So straight away, like say if your opponent's going to synchro summon, they get dealt 1,000 points straight away, which is perfect. So obviously don't use synchros in this deck. Now here is another latest card, Meklord Astro Dragon Triskelion, sorry. You could say Triskelion, I guess. I need to have a look at the pronunciation. And this is not one of the anime cards, this is another one of the latest cards that was brought out. Cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 Meklord monsters with different names from your graveyard. Now, once per turn, you can, when this card declares an attack, you can look at your opponent's extra deck and equip 1 monster to it, from it to this card. This card gains attack equal to the combined attack of those equipped monsters, and when equipped with a synchro monster, this card can make up to 3 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. So like I said, if you have an equipped monster that's an synchro monster and your opponent has 3 monsters, it can attack all 3 of them. And it has 3,000 attack, so it's built for attack, obviously, since it has 3 attacks. And it's quite good. I can't deny that. This is a good card. I managed to get like most of the Meklords. I had most of the original Meklord deck, but I didn't have all of I never had all the newest ones. I got them cheap from eBay. Now we're up to field spells. I have 2 field spells just in case. And these are for the different types of Meklords. This one's for the Meklord Emperors. Meklord Fortress. Neither player can target Meklord Emperor monsters you control with synchro monster effects. When this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add one Meklord Emperor monster from your deck to your hand. You can have 2 copies of this, but I chose 1 copy along with this because this is for the Meklord armies. This is the field spell that Aporia actually does use. I've never seen him use Meklord Fortress. For Tismo, the Mobile Fortress, the field spell, now this has a basic field spell effect. Once per turn, you can special summon 1 Meklord army monster from your hand. So it's not very fancy, but it's still okay to use if you want to summon out additional Meklord army monsters. And now here's the latest spells. Meklord Deflection, and this is a quick spell. Target 1 Meklord monster you control. Your opponent takes no battle damage from attacks involving that face-up monster until the end of this turn. Also, its attack becomes permanently the combined original attack of all the Meklord monsters you currently control. If a face-up monster or monsters you control, if a face-up Meklord monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only activate 1 Meklord Deflection per turn. And straight away, get 3 copies of this. That's my rule. Get 3 copies of this because it protects your monsters, gives them a permanent attack. So if you were to add that to, let's say, Astro Mechanical or the Astral Dragon, it's perfect straight away. Now next we have another new Meklord Assembler. It's a continuous. You can have multiple copies, but I only added 1 in because I'm probably not going to need multiple copies when using this deck. When this card is activated, you can add 1 Meklord monster from your deck to your hand, and you can only activate 1 Meklord Assembly per turn. You can only use each of the following effects of Meklord Assembly once per turn. The first effect, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 monster you control, destroy it. Second effect, if a face-up Meklord monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 other face-up spell or trap card on the field, destroy it. So straight away, it's good, okay effect. And you can already get a Meklord monster just in case you need it as well when you play it. Now next we have Boon of the Meklord Emperor. This is an old card as seen. If the only face-up monsters you control are 2 Meklord monsters, you can draw 2 cards. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. This is just in case. So if you had Meklord Army and you had, let's say, Skeel and Weisel, you could normal summon Weisel, but then special summon Skeel, then play it if you don't need to attack. And like I've said, you need this in every machine deck, and I do mean every machine deck. Limiter, removal, a quick spell, double the attack of all machine type monsters you control at both the activation and resolution of this card until the end phase. During the end phase, destroy those monsters. So literally, and you see this in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX when Chumley goes to attack Crowler with it, and he plays this on H&G Golem. Basically, it doubles all the attack points of every machine on the field that you have. All your machines. Now next we have Dark Hole. This is a basic spell. Destroy all monsters on the field. And this is so you can summon out the Meklord Emperors just in case. Or you need to get rid of certain cards to play other cards. Now, we have 3 copies of Meklord Blast, because we're finally up to traps. Select 1 face-up Meklord monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls. Destroy both cards. And this is used mainly for Meklord Emperors, so if you want to put more copies of Meklord Emperors in, and want to get rid of some of the latest ones, that'll help. Now next we have 2 copies of Chaos Infinity. Change as many defense position monsters on the field as possible to face up attack position, then special summon 1 Meklord monster from your deck or graveyard, but its effects are negated. Also, it is destroyed during the end phase. This can be used mainly to summon Meklord Emperors, but it could also be used just if you've used, like what I've said, the Fortress and 2 of them to summon and your opponent already has one in the field, then it's your turn. You could use it to summon the Astro... to summon the Astro Dragon Asterix or this one. Technically, actually, you could play both this and this at the same time. And if you had 3 additional Meklord monsters, you could play this in your hand as well. I would like to see that done. I mean, I would like to do that. I would record... I'd record if I do a duel like with this deck, which hopefully I will. I'll do that. Next, we have 2 copies of Meklord Astro, the Eradicator. Target 3 Meklord monsters with different names in your graveyard, add them to your hand, or special summon them, ignoring the summoning conditions. To the end of this turn, after this card is activated, you cannot special summon monsters except machine monsters. If you control a Meklord Astro monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, destroy 1 synchro monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. You can only use each effect of Meklord Astro, the Eradicator, once per turn. So you would need an Astro monster. And if you look at the card designing on it, it's really nice. Because you've got the Fortress, you've got the three army, you've got the 3 Emperors. Actually, sorry, no, you've got the army monsters. And then you've got this. And this would have been similar to the duel against... when Aporia went up against Leo, Luna and Jack. And that duel was honestly one of the best. Aporia wasn't in a lot of duels, but he was still excellent in all of them. Now next we have Meklord Factory. Activate only when a face-up Meklord monster on the field is selected as an attack target. Select 1 Meklord army monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then destroy the attack target. So, it's quite good, because just in case you need it, your monster's back. Now we're up to our last 2 cards now. This one is Torrential Tribute. When a monster or monsters is summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. And then next we have Wall of Disruption. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, all attack position monsters your opponent controls lose 800 attack for each monster they control. Straight away good. If they have 5 monsters, they lose 4,000, which is quite dangerous, quite cool. I would say the word cool is excellent. Let you put in. I'll put these down. Now, like I said, I love this deck. There's still room to improve on it. The first thing I would do is look at new ways to create defensive strategies for it, just in case, and maintain getting back cards like using Jar of Avarice. Now, one thing I used to do with this deck is that when I had a bunch of Meklord Emperors, I used to always use Gravity Bind and other techniques, so then only the Meklord Emperors could attack. That's one way to do it, but the downside is that wouldn't be effective against Xyz monsters since they don't have levels, and especially now against Lynx. But that's one option if you were to make it Meklord Army based, Meklord Emperor based. You could use Gravity Bind, and you could use certain cards that would limit high level monsters like level 3s or higher, because I think there is one that forces level 3s and higher to defense position, so you could use that, mix that in with the Meklord Army Emperors, and then give them cards that would let them deal damage, let them deal piercing damage. So you've immediately got a tactical advantage. But like I said, there's still can be room to improve this deck. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing your thoughts and opinions on this deck. What cards would you change and improve on it? And I always say, like, the boss cards, like the Emperors and Astros and everything, I always have 1 copy of them because they're the boss cards. That's like my rule, let's say. If I have a boss card, I always have 1 copy of it. So, again, comment down what you thought of this. I hope you do comment down below what you thought of this deck. I personally love this deck, and give your own thoughts on what you would do to improve the deck if you were to replace, let's say, one of the monsters, spells or traps and put in a new additional one. And until then, this is Sergeant Phoenix, over and out.